My name is Emily. I am 46 years old. I am an artist. I paint pictures. I am married. My husband's name is David. He is 49 years old. David is a good man. He makes me feel loved. We have been married for 3 months now. David's family is very famous. They are rich people. They own an art gallery in this city. We attend fancy parties and dinners. But there is one problem in this happy life. The problem is David's mother, Margaret.
Margaret does not like me. She never smiles when she sees me. Margaret thinks I am not the right wife for her son. I try very hard to be perfect. I try to say the right things and wear the right clothes. But when Margaret is near, I feel very nervous. She always watches me. Her eyes are cold. I know that David loves me, but living under Margaret's watch is difficult. I wish I could feel safe and relaxed in my own home. I wish I could stop worrying about her opinion all the time. The next evening there was a big family dinner. There were many guests. They wore expensive clothes. Margaret was watching me. My heart beat fast. I looked at David. He was sitting next to me. I was happy that he was there. Suddenly, the room became quiet. Everyone stopped talking. Margaret stood up from her chair. She looked serious. Margaret held a white paper in her hand. She said, "Attention, everyone. I have something important to say tonight. We have a liar sitting at this table. Someone here is not telling the truth about who they are." I froze. My entire body felt heavy. Margaret pointed her finger at me. She looked straight at me and said, "Emily is not who she says she is. My son David married a fraud." David held my hand. He looked worried. David spoke loudly, "Mother, stop!" But Margaret did not listen. She held the paper high for everyone to see. Margaret said, "I did some research about Emily. Emily said she went to art school in Paris, but this paper proves that she did not finish her degree. She lied to everyone here. She is a fraud. She is only here for the family's money." The room became noisy. People began to whisper. They looked at me with shock. I felt very small. I looked down at the table. The paper told the truth. I did not finish the degree. I had a reason for leaving school, but I could not say it now. I looked up at David. His face was full of confusion. David looked at me and said, "Emily." He waited for me to speak. I could not breathe. I knew I needed to leave. I stood up quickly. I did not look at David or Margaret. I turned around and ran. I went outside to the garden. My eyes were full of tears. I was afraid that my marriage was over. I loved him very much. Then I heard footsteps. I looked up. It was David. He looked worried, not angry. He sat down next to me. David looked into my eyes. He said, "Emily, please look at me." I looked at him. I saw only love in his eyes. David asked me, "Is it true, Emily?" I knew I had to tell him the truth. I said, "Yes, it is true that I did not finish my art degree in Paris. But David, I did not lie to hurt you. I had a reason for leaving school." David did not move away from me. He moved closer. He held my face in his hands. David said, "I do not marry papers, Emily. I do not marry degrees. I married you." He leaned down and kissed me. David held me for a long time. I realized that his love was much stronger than the scandal. It was stronger than his mother's anger. David chose me over his rich family. We left the house quickly. We did not say goodbye to anyone. David drove away from the city. We found a small hotel. We sat on the edge of the bed. I told David everything. I told him about the art school in Paris. I told him why I stopped my studies. David listened to every word. David told me that he understood. He said that my past did not change his love. We lay down in the bed. I rested my head on his chest. We slept deeply. The next morning, we left the hotel early. We drove back to the big house. I was still nervous, but I was also stronger. David gave me courage to face his mother. We went straight to the living room. Margaret was sitting on a chair. She was drinking tea. Margaret looked very surprised to see us together. She thought we had fought and separated after the scandal. David stood next to me. I looked at Margaret. I said, "It is true that I did not finish my art degree. I stopped studying because my father became very sick. He needed a lot of help. He was in the hospital for many months. The hospital bills were huge. I needed money fast to pay for his care. I could not study and work at the same time. I had to choose. I took 2 jobs. I worked all day and night. I chose family over my degree." I opened my bag. I took out an envelope. Inside the envelope were many papers. They were the medical bills of my father. I walked closer to Margaret. I put the papers on the table. I wanted her to see the proof. I said, "I did not lie to deceive you. I just saved my father's life." Margaret looked at the medical papers. She saw the dates and the hospital name. Margaret believed that family was the most important thing in life. She saw that Emily valued family just as much as she did. Margaret looked ashamed. She realized she was wrong about Emily. Emily was not a fraud. She was a loving daughter. Margaret put the papers down on the table. She looked at Emily. Margaret said, "Emily, I judged you too quickly." Margaret did not hug Emily, but her eyes were soft now. They were no longer cold. David smiled at Emily. He was proud of his brave wife. He kissed her hand, showing his mother that their love was true. For the first time, Margaret treated me with respect. She asked me a question about my father's health. I answered. This was a new beginning for everyone in the family. I felt happy and safe. I knew our future would be bright and full of love.